the other candidates for Ward 4, which we had 4 that had replied, said they would be here, but so far we only have 1 for Ward 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to let Mr. Westfall give his 2-minute opening, and we will ask him some questions, and he will get a 2-minute closing. So at this time, I'll call on Mr. Westfall to come up here and give us his opening then.
You said I could have all their time.
I'm a politician too. Not on your life.
Good evening. I'm Ron Westfall. I'm running for City Council, Ward 4. I'm running for City Council because I believe I have the experience and the background and qualifications to bring new perspectives to City Council. I have over 30 years experience in industry and other businesses, including duties as Executive Vice President and President of a corporation. I retired in February of 2015. The previous 11 years I spent as a contracting officer on Fort Campbell. In my Air Force career, I had 7 years in intelligence operations, and part of those duties also included photo interpretation analysis. I am a Vietnam veteran. I was in country in 1968, 1969. I have a BS in business administration. I'm a management major. And I also have intensified studies in both macro and microeconomics. I also have 2 years of engineering background, not just background, but studies with the University of Pittsburgh. My wife and I moved here 12 years ago to Park Lane, where we currently reside. And at that time, it was only going to be a 10-year proposition for us, and then we were going to move on. However, during the past 12 years, I retired and we decided to stay here. That was our option, to stay here. We had other options, but we stayed here because we really liked Clarksville. And now we want to give something back. I want to give something back to make Clarksville even better for everybody. I consider the northwest wards in Clarksville, wards 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, to be the forgotten wards. We pay our taxes, and we get very little for what we pay in property taxes. And if we don't do something soon, and I mean very soon, we're going to become the lost wards in Clarksville. Urban blight is already setting in, and we know where that leads to ultimately. So I want an opportunity to serve on council and hopefully be able to work with other councilmen to correct some of the situations and bring attention to Northwest Clarksville. And the key to all that is infrastructure. We need to get the Purple Heart Highway across the Cumberland River. We need to do something with the 41A coming up through New Providence. And we also need a new corridor, east-west corridor from Wilma Rudolph over to 41A. Now, if we do those things, that will open up all of the northwest area in Clarksville to development. And by development, that will bring jobs, residential growth, commercial, and industrial. So that's basically what I'm all about. And I'm sure through Wallace's questions this evening, we'll see even more of what I stand for. But I'm all about basically seniors and families first.
Oh, okay, well, I don't know if they can hear all the way at the back.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone ask the same question.
Ask the same, okay, I plan to. Well, where do we start? Let me ask this question then. Let me put them out of order and start with this one. There's been a lot of talk about a conference center as well. And years ago, a conference center was passed by the city council. The mayor then, Johnny Piper, proposed a conference center. And then the citizens put this on a referendum and it was voted down 70-30. You think we need a conference center? And if we do, the government should go ahead, local government, and provide it?
Well, first of all, I don't believe that the local government should build a conference center. If a conference center is truly needed, then it should be done through private development. Let them put the bill for it. They will do all the analysis necessary to make sure whether or not it will pay for itself. We could build a white elephant and it'll become nothing but a dry hole that we keep, pounding sand down. Conference centers of any magnitude at all are very expensive. Number one, to build, and then to keep it up. And that goes with a lot of things in Clarksville and elsewhere as far as government goes. We don't look far enough down the road. Immediate expenses in building something are one thing, but when you start heaping on the long-range costs of employees, maintenance, insurance, and everything else, then you are looking at a losing proposition.
Okay. And you got a fan club over here.
Yeah, my wife and daughter and friends, yeah.
What is the role of government?
Government governs best, it governs least. And those aren't my words, those come from our founding fathers. When they set up the Constitution in our form of government, which is a republic and not a democracy, by the way, it was set up as a pyramid. The federal government was at the top of that, and it had the least ability or was restricted the most in what they should be concerned with in governing. At the base, that was to be the broadest level of government, and that was to all be done at the local level by the people.
Okay. When considering politics and possibly becoming a local legislature where you're going to have to make hundreds of decisions, what are your core beliefs concerning politics that will guide you?
As far as, repeat the question, please.
You're applying to be a legislator where you're going to be voting on hundreds, probably throughout a 4-year term, of issues, all the way, like we mentioned before, that range from spending to guns and parks. What is your core belief as far as politics is concerned that will guide you?
Well, City Council is definitely a deliberative body, but I am against anything that vastly increases the taxpayer burden, and in our case, particularly through property taxes. So any time that you can get development or any other issues settled by private investment, that's the route to go. Now, as far as other issues that come before council, I hope to bring that my past experience and what I stand for, and I'm limited government, and we should be governing least. But as far as deliberative issues go, that the focus is on the people. What does the most benefit for most people, and that should be the result of every decision that's made by council, any deliberative body. I don't care whether it's at state, federal, or local. Deliberative decisions should benefit the people.
Okay. With the TIF that we mentioned recently with the other candidates, at the end of the TIF, before this money is given, the incentive money to the private developers to develop money downtown, before they are approved, should that final approval come by the CBID alone? Or should the final approval be up to an elected body, that is the city council and the mayor, for the approval of who receives the TIF tax dollars.
Any time that taxpayer money is involved, there should be elected officials controlling the expenditure of those funds. I am against any kind of independent body spending taxpayer money. It just doesn't flow for me at all. And again, as far as the TIF goes, I don't think it has been clarified enough to the general public as far as where the money comes from. My impression so far is that the money will come from people coming in and renovating buildings, 39 acres of them down there, to a point where they get taxed more. And when that revenue starts being generated, those funds are again then reapplied for other people to come in until we increase our broadening your tax base, if you will, through that method. But other than that, I really don't think this whole TIF thing has been truly clarified to the extent that it needs to be for the general public.
Okay. What political figure, and I'll make this a broader question than we did before. What political figure or just historical figure or even a current figure that has influenced you the most?
I rather enjoyed in the last word between Ron and Ernest, their comments. They both seemed to zero in on Chamberlain, Winston Chamberlain. And he was a very controversial figure, a very important figure in history. Pardon?
Churchill.
Or Churchill, I'm sorry. But anyhow, it was said that at one time, Lady Astor said to Winston Churchill, "If I were married to you, I'd put poison in your coffee." And Churchill responded, "If I were married to you, I'd drink it." Now, as far as I'm concerned, I think the greatest president, the most influential president that we've had in present day is Ronald Reagan. First of all, he was a true patriot. He truly wanted to ensure through the way he governed that America would remain great forever. And we truly can remain great as long as we follow our Constitution. He had good ideas on the economy. He knew where we stood in the world. And he was a Christian. And regardless of what other people say, some out there say we are no longer a Christian nation. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. We are a Christian nation. Everything we've done in this country has been established on the Judeo-Christian system. And our Constitution bears the imprint, heavy imprint of Christianity in it. So that's where I come from on that.
Okay. Should we build the conference center that we spoke of before?
No.
The city, that is.
No, not with taxpayer dollars. You need private development to come in and build that. Because if it's really needed, somebody will come in and build it because they base it on a profit basis. And if it doesn't fly, if they can't make a profit on it, we aren't going to make money, the kind of money on it to support it, maintain it, and restructure it and everything else as time goes by.
And nonprofits. Should the city give to nonprofit organizations that's not part, charitable organizations that's not part of the city? Should they fund those?
No, we shouldn't. As I said before, we're a Christian nation. And as Christians, we reach out to people. And that's where charity comes from. It starts and stays with the people doing their Christian duties and out of Christian incentives to help others. We have no business spending taxpayer dollars on charity.
I guess, and I had the question here, this was a question that was from the Chamber of Commerce. It was about infighting with the council. And I don't think it's all the council members, but some of them, want to, I don't know, act out or whatnot. What are your thoughts on that? How will you be on the council?
Well, there again, I have a record of proven leadership. And again, I think I will bring new perspectives to council. I have the leadership qualities to work along with other people to produce effective measures and accomplish successful goals. Council needs to be objective focused. They don't need to be grandstanding. They shouldn't be grandstanding for minor causes. We have to work together to do those things that we need to do to bring Clarksville to that point where we can truly say we truly are the gateway to the New South. That's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of cooperation, and we have to do it together. Recently, I read a quote by Franklin Graham, and he was addressing a church group on this, and he said, time is like a river. You can only touch the waters once, because the flow that passes today will never pass by again. And I like to think that if we need to touch the water now to preserve what we have in Clarksville and to bring to Northwest Clarksville what is truly needed. And again, I'm saying wards 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're all in the same boat here. We need to work together to do what's necessary to elevate not only Northwest Clarksville, but across the board. Anything we do here is going to benefit all of Clarksville.
Okay. Last question is the one we had before too, the green certification. There are private sector, because the city certifies its own departments, and they give, like the gas and water or CDE, it inspects its own, it gives its own certification. And it gives the stamp of government approval on a business after they go through the classes and go through the things they have to do to have that green certification. So and like I said, the website says that you should become green certified because do it now, because in the future it's going to become mandatory. Would you vote to make it mandatory? And if you did want to keep it without it being mandatory, would you be for a private company doing the certification rather than the city doing it itself?
I'm not truly for green certification. I have worked with green certifications in the past, and quite frankly, if you don't have, it incorporates a lot of times technology that later on turns out to be defective and not really successful in accomplishing what the goals of green certification are. I'm not for instance, a lot of private industry got into this, and the government is certainly into it very deeply on the federal level. And to me, it's a lot of it's a sham, particularly if you bring in private companies. They'll sell you anything to make a buck. And if we want to certify ourselves, if the city wants to go around certifying our different departments as green certified or whatever, let them do it. If there's an efficiency involved somewhere, but as far as paying somebody to come in and do it, no. Should we have goals on what we're trying to accomplish? City government should be run like a business. It should have a bottom line to it that indicates we're successful at doing something. But anytime you have sham and schemes involved or any just rubber stamping for whatever purpose, no, we don't need that.
Okay. You mentioned North Clarksville. North Clarksville has the Blue Way, it has the Green Way, it has the only indoor pool in Clarksville, and it's got the big Kenwood soccer complex. What would you like to see built in North Clarksville from the city, and how would you pay for it?
Well, I have some problems with, number one, what we have already in our continuance in trying to grab more land to do more things with. First of all, I've going door to door, I've had a lot of stories told to me about how we don't have the money or the manpower to maintain what we already have in our parks and so on and so forth. Things like the Greenway and other things that you've mentioned, they're great. But like I said earlier, we need to get the horse back in front of the cart here. You can have all kinds of visionary things going on, and they're nice, great to have. But when we need other things done better, and first, we need to put the money and the investment in what needs to be done first to correct our problems so that we can broaden the tax base, not keep increasing tax rates and assessments to pay for everything. So I'm coming back to the point where I started at. We need to get our infrastructure straightened out here, and that's going to take a lot of money, a lot of effort, and we can't do it all because the infrastructure that needs straightened out here is the responsibility of the state and the federal government. And we need, through council, through the commissioners, through 2 mayors, we need to bring all the pressure that we can bring to bear on our state and federal representatives to get money to Clarksville that we should have to fix our infrastructure.
Okay, great. That will conclude our question period, and I'll go ahead and give you 2 minutes for a closing. And then we'll go to our next Ward 5.
As I said earlier, I'm a constitutionalist and I'm a fiscal conservative. And if I didn't say that, I'm saying it now. Certainly, I would like to have the opportunity to serve Clarksville on City Council. And I would really appreciate anybody that's in Ward 4 to give me their vote. And if all these nice folks over here from Ward 5, if they know anybody running Ward 4, I'd appreciate a word from you to those folks too, to vote for me, Ron Westfall. I think you need me on City Council, and there's others like me out there who are running on a conservative platform, wanting to do what's right for and by Clarksville. So vote for me, Ron Westfall, City Council.
Thank you, Ron. Very good. And now we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll set up, and then we will start with our Ward 5 then.